Chapter 1 of Monsieur Lecoq, Part 2. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by Don Evans. Monsieur Lecoq by Emile Gaboriau, Part 2, Chapter 1. On the first Sunday in the month of August, 1815, at 10 o'clock precisely, as on every Sunday morning, the sacristan of the parish church at Sairmeuse sounded the 3 strokes of the bell which warn the faithful that the priest is ascending the steps of the altar to celebrate high mass. The church was already more than half full, and from every side little groups of peasants were hurrying into the churchyard. The women were all in their bravest attire, with cunning little fichus crossed upon their breasts, broad-striped, brightly colored skirts, and large white coifs. Being as economical as they were coquettish, they came barefooted, bringing their shoes in their hands, but put them on reverentially before entering the house of God. But few of the men entered the church. They remained outside to talk, seating themselves in the porch, or standing about the yard in the shade of the century-old elms, for such was the custom in the hamlet of Sairmeuse. The 2 hours which the women consecrated to prayer, the men employed in discussing the news, the success or the failure of the crops, and, before the service ended, they could generally be found, glass in hand, in the bar-room of the village inn. For the farmers, for a league around, the Sunday mass was only an excuse for a reunion, a sort of weekly beuze. All the cures who had been successively stationed at Sairmeuse had endeavored to put an end to this scandalous habit, as they termed it, but all their efforts had made no impression upon country obstinacy. They had succeeded in gaining only one concession. At the moment of the elevation of the host, voices were hushed, heads uncovered, and a few even bowed the knee and made the sign of the cross. But this was the affair of an instant only, and conversation was immediately resumed with increased vivacity. But today the usual animation was wanting. No sounds came from the little knots of men gathered here and there, not an oath, not a laugh. Between buyers and sellers one did not overhear a single one of those interminable discussions, punctuated with the popular oaths, such as "By my faith in God," or "May the devil burn me." They were not talking, they were whispering together. A gloomy sadness was visible upon each face. Lips were placed cautiously at the listener's ear. Anxiety could be read in every eye. One scented misfortune in the very air. Only a month had elapsed since Louis XVIII had been, for the second time, installed in the Tuileries by a triumphant coalition. The earth had not yet had time to swallow the sea of blood that flowed at Waterloo. 1,200,000 foreign soldiers desecrated the soil of France. The Prussian General Muffling was governor of Paris, and the peasantry of Sairmeuse trembled with indignation and fear. The king, brought back by the allies, was no less to be dreaded than the allies themselves. To them this great name of Bourbon signified only a terrible burden of taxation and oppression. Above all, it signified ruin, for there was scarcely one among them who had not purchased some morsel of government land, and they were assured now that all estates were to be returned to the former proprietors, who had emigrated after the overthrow of the Bourbons. Hence it was with a feverish curiosity that most of them clustered around a young man who, only 2 days before, had returned from the army. With tears of rage in his eyes, he was recounting the shame and the misery of the invasion. He told of the pillage at Versailles, the exactions at Orleans, and the pitiless requisitions that had stripped the people of everything. And these accursed
Sample complete. Ready to continue?